All right, hello everyone. This is Paul from SpanishWithPaul.com and welcome to Monday's Spanish lesson. There's a new online translator called DeepL. You can see a picture of it here. It's developed in Germany and it's been getting a lot of positive reviews lately, basically saying that it's better than Google Translate. So in this video, what we're going to do is compare and test them to see if it's really true. And I think you'll find that the results are quite surprising. That's coming up next. To download my notes for this lesson, you can click the link that you see on the screen right now, or the one that I've put in the description box below this video. You'll get the links to the translator, my test sentences, the results, and the reasons why I considered one translation better than the other. Google Translate, which you can see on the screen right now, is the one that everyone knows and uses. It's kind of king of the castle. But there's a new contender in town called DeepL, which you can see here. And this is the one that's been getting a lot of positive reviews lately from independent sources. For example, TechCrunch from USA is quoted as saying it's more accurate and nuanced than any we've tried. Wired in Germany says the translated texts often read much more fluently. There's a news organization in the Netherlands called RTLZ, which says indeed a few tests show that DeepL translator offers better translations than Google Translate. And then there's WW What's New, which says that DeepL, an online translator that outperforms Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. So rather than take their word for it, we're going to run our own test to see if DeepL really is better than Google Translate. What I've done is selected 9 random phrases and 1 paragraph, so 10 questions in all. Let's see how they do. The first phrase actually comes from last Monday's Spanish lesson. It reads, "It makes me scared." So let's copy and paste this into the translators and see how they do. First, into Google Translate, we get me asusta, while DeepL gives us me da miedo. I've put the results side by side here so that we can compare them. This one is from Google Translate and this one is from DeepL. Now for me, DeepL wins this translation. The reason is because me asusta means it scares me, but that wasn't what we asked. What we asked specifically to translate was it makes me scared, for which DeepL did translate correctly as me da miedo. This is very nice to see because it means that DeepL was able to make a distinction between it scares me, me asusta, and it makes me scared, me da miedo. Google Translate didn't make that distinction, so DeepL is going to get this one, 1-0. The second phrase is, "I like that you're writing a letter to your mom." Of course, in the US, it would be spelt in this alternate way. So let's copy and paste this and see what the translators do. First, into Google Translate, we get, "Me gusta que estés escribiendo una carta a tu mamá," while DeepL gives us, "Me gusta que escribas una carta a tu madre." Here we have them side by side, the one from Google Translate and the one from DeepL. Now for me, Google Translate wins this one. The reason is because it correctly used the subjunctive after this trigger, me gusta que, and then it went into the subjunctive for estés. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the sentence was, this key point here, you are writing, and Google Translate correctly did estés escribiendo for you are writing, whereas DeepL did something far more basic and it also missed using the subjunctive. It simply said, "I like that now you write a letter to your mother." So for me, there's no question that Google Translate wins this one, making it 1-1. Our third test phrase is, "It's possible they're trying to call you now." So let's see what they do with this one. Google Translate gives us, "Es posible que intenten llamarte ahora," and DeepL gives us, "Es posible que estén intentando llamarte ahora." Putting them side by side, DeepL wins this one. They both correctly go into the subjunctive after the trigger of es posible que. However, the key words are they are trying, for which the best translation is estén intentando. What's happening here is curious because Google is making the same mistake that DeepL did in the last translation, meaning that what Google did correctly in the last one, it's doing incorrectly in this one, and vice versa for DeepL. So there's no question that DeepL here has the better translation, and the score goes to 2-1. Phrase number 4 is, maybe they think it's bad that I'm going out with him. We're imagining here a girl talking to her friend, and perhaps her parents don't have the best opinion of her boyfriend. So let's see what the translators do with it. Google Translate gives us tal vez ellos piensan que es malo que vaya a salir con él, while DeepL gives us tal vez piensen que es malo que salga con él. Putting the results side by side, Google actually did a horrendous job of translating this. First of all, tal vez is a trigger for the subjunctive, yet Google did not go into the subjunctive, it stayed with piensan, whereas DeepL did go into the subjunctive with piensen. Then it continues, es malo que, which is another trigger for the subjunctive, but Google does something very strange here. It says, I'm going to go out with him, but that's not what we asked it. We said that it's bad that I'm going out with him. So this is the present tense, whereas Google forced us into the future here, basically saying it's bad that I'm going to go out with him. Now DeepL did a much better job because it said es malo que salga con él in the present tense and in the subjunctive. So for me, this is a really big win for DeepL, making the score 3-1. Phrase number 5 reads, he still has not said anything to his wife and children. So again, let's copy and paste and see what the translators do. First, into Google Translate, the result we get is él todavía no le ha dicho nada a su esposa y hijos. Then into DeepL, we get todavía no le ha dicho nada a su esposa y hijos. So the same result. Given that we got the exact same result for this phrase, both translators can either be right or wrong. In fact, they're both correct. The only thing they could have said differently was todavía no le ha dicho nada a su esposa y a sus hijos, but either way is correct. So the score remains the same at 3-1. For phrase number 6, we have he knows he cannot continue doing this forever. Let's see what they do with this one. Google Translate gives us él sabe que no puede continuar haciendo esto para siempre, and DeepL gives us sabe que no puede seguir haciendo esto para siempre. Putting them side by side, we can see that Google went with the verb continuar haciendo and DeepL went with seguir haciendo. Now, both of these are correct because one means to continue doing and the other one means to keep on doing. So I don't have any problem with either of those. In fact, both translations are wrong for another reason. They both used para siempre instead of por siempre. Whenever we're referring to a length of time, even if it's always, as here by the word siempre, you will use por siempre. So both translators got this wrong. The score stays the same at 3-1. Phrase number 7 is, she is very attractive and I know he secretly likes her. Let's see what the translators do with this. The result Google Translate gives us is, ella es muy atractiva y sé que en secreto le gusta. While DeepL gives us, es muy atractiva y sé que a él le gusta en secreto. Putting them side by side, I give this translation to DeepL. It's not that Google is wrong in its translation, it's just that DeepL's interpretation of the sentence is much more natural. This is the way a native speaker would say it. Ella es muy atractiva y sé que a él le gusta en secreto. So the score goes to 4-1. Phrase number 8 is, we have been in the relationship for 5 years. Let's see what happens. First, with Google Translate, we get hemos estado en la relación durante 5 años, while DeepL gives us hemos estado en la relación por 5 años. Putting the results side by side, the only difference is that Google went with durante 5 años and DeepL went with por 5 años. Now, both are actually correct. The only difference is that perhaps someone of an older generation would use the word durante here, while the more modern translation would be por 5 años. Personally, I would use the same one as DeepL. However, both are legitimate and correct. This means our score stays deadlocked at 4-1. Sentence number 9 is, in my opinion, the only reason he does it is to impress his neighbor. Let's copy and paste it into the translators. First, with Google Translate, we get, en mi opinión, la única razón por la que lo hace es impresionar a su vecino. While DeepL gives us, en mi opinión, la única razón por la que lo hace es para impresionar a su vecino. Putting them side by side, we can see that the results are exactly the same except for one word. DeepL puts in the word para here, while Google Translate does not. This is very important because it means that DeepL wins this translation. Looking at the original sentence, we have, in my opinion, the only reason he does it is to impress his neighbor. Now, this is implying in order to impress his neighbor. And whenever in order to is said or implied in English, you must throw in the word para in Spanish. DeepL caught this and it makes the score 5-1. Question number 10 for our translators is going to be an entire paragraph, and you can see it written out here. I won't bother reading it. If you would like to, you can just pause the video and do that yourself. So we're going to copy and paste all of this and throw it into the translators. Let's see how they do. Beginning with Google Translate, as always, we get this result, which I'll copy and paste into a separate slide. And then DeepL gives us this result. So let's compare and contrast and see which one did better on an entire paragraph. The first result I'll show you is from DeepL, and you can see we have 5 mistakes, some of them very significant. Instead of era, it should be fue. Instead of estaba, it should be estuve. Instead of sido, it should be estado. This use of llegué doesn't make any sense at all. And instead of de, it should be a. We also have another minor thing where the translation is saying in front of my new apartment, where originally it was outside my new apartment. One last thing is that it's using the word apartamento, which they use in Spain. In Latin America, they would say departamento. The question for you now is, do you think Google Translate made less or more mistakes than DeepL? It actually made less. You can see here we just have 2 mistakes in the whole paragraph. It got fue correctly, where DeepL said era. It did outside my new apartment, afuera de. And it also used busqué instead of llegué, and it got a right instead of de. So quite a surprising result here. Google Translate just did 2 mistakes for the paragraph, whereas DeepL made 5 mistakes. In conclusion, and based upon the results of this test from English into Spanish, I do agree that DeepL is slightly better than Google Translate, and this is despite the significant problems it had in the final paragraph. I think what this really demonstrates is that the artificial intelligence, or AI, used for language translation is still some years away. Now, in my mind, online translators are good for checking words or vocabulary, or for getting a general translation of a web page online, but they are completely untrustable for language learning. And in fairness to them, they never claimed to be suitable for language learning anyway, because the technology just isn't there yet. If you're serious about learning Spanish and want to become conversationally fluent, my main course, Spanish with Paul, is live and available for you now. Inside you'll get my complete course, none of which is available on YouTube, and also my personal attention to make sure you achieve conversational fluency in the fastest time possible. In short, if you like my free lessons on YouTube and the results they're giving you, then you'll love what I have for you inside the main course. You can click the link on the screen now to find out all the details. So with that said, I look forward to seeing you again in my next video.